around. Is it good? Right.
Okay. So first, what is GnuPG? GnuPG, or GNU Privacy Guard, is a complete and free implementation of OpenPGP standard. It allows you to encrypt and sign your data and communications. GnuPG has scads of options which make it flexible and powerful encryption framework. However, this also makes it extremely complicated to get started with, and that quite reasonably puts people off. So I have tried to use GnuPG since a long time, spent a lot of time reading detailed and complicated tutorials, manuals, etc., and still I find myself lost when trying to use GnuPG. Some of the things that make GnuPG difficult, in my opinion, are the GnuPG command is monolithic, bloated with functionality and options. The docs are not clearly structured. The number of commands and options is huge. There is no clear distinction between the commands and the options. The supported use cases are not so clear. It tries to support everything, and the terminology is a bit confusing and counterintuitive. Now, what is EasyGnuPG? EasyGnuPG is a wrapper script that aims to simplify the process of using GnuPG. And the idea is that the more people use strong encryption, the better is for everyone. EasyGnuPG tries to offer a simpler interface with much less commands and options, better organized and structured, with a more intuitive terminology, with a modular construction that is also easy to customize, adapt, and extend. EasyGnuPG is opinionated. In order to simplify things, EasyGnuPG is opinionated about the right way to use GnuPG. This means that while GPG offers lots of options and flexibility to perform a certain task, eGPG uses just a sensible default way in order to keep things simple and not to bewilder the user with countless choices. For example, when you create a new key in GPG, you have to specify a lot of options, most of which make no sense for a beginner, so they will just use the defaults anyway. eGPG, on the other hand, just asks for a name and an email address, filling up the rest with reasonable default values. Not only that, but it also goes on and generates automatically the needed subkeys according to well-known recommendations and best practices of using GPG. Or when encrypting a file, it also automatically signs it, encrypts it to the author as well, and generates the output in the text format, ASCII armored, which is more universal than the binary format. This simplicity makes it easier for the beginners to get started. At the same time, the selected subset of operations and features covers most of the common cases of usage, so hopefully it should be sufficient for the everyday needs of most of the users. eGPG integrates seamlessly with GPG. In case users need to use some advanced features of or commands which are not supported by eGPG, they can go on and use GPG itself at any time, because eGPG also integrates seamlessly with GPG. So the reduced set of supported operations and features, while being convenient for everyday usage, does not limit or prevent users from doing more advanced or complex things. For example, if you want to do some extra editing to the key, which can't be done with eGPG due to its limited set of functionality, you can do it like this. eGPG and then GPG, and then the rest is GPG options and commands. So GPG is executed as a subcommand of eGPG, and this ensures that it uses the same environment, which is GnuPG home, as eGPG. So the command that is executed actually is GPG, but it uses the environment of eGPG. Also, when initiating a new eGPG environment with the command eGPG init, you can migrate all the data from an existing GPG or eGPG environment with the command eGPG migrate. Or you can pick up only certain keys or contacts, public keys. For example, eGPG key fetch and then the ID of the key. eGPG, contact fetch, and then the ID of the public key. eGPG has a clear and intuitive terminology. One of the things that confuses people while using GPG is the overloaded and unclear terminology about keys, about signatures, etc. eGPG tries to improve this by making a clear distinction between the private keys and the public keys. In eGPG, there is only one primary key, which is used for signing, and the subkey, which is used for decryption. All the public keys are called contacts, since they contain the names and email addresses of the people that you use to communicate. Either send them encrypted messages or verify their signatures. If you say public key to a beginner, you will also have to explain to him some cryptographic details and how public keys should be used. But if you say contact, everybody gets that it contains details that enable and facilitate communication. Also, it makes more sense when you certify and trust a contact rather than editing a key and changing its certification and trust levels. eGPG is transparent and auditable. Being built as a set of shell scripts, eGPG is quite transparent and auditable, different from GUI, for example, or web service. If you are concerned about what it does, open up the files and read them, or have someone you trust read them. The size of the main script is less than 250 lines, well within the understanding reach of most of the users. Most of the commands are implemented on their own script, and each of these scripts is approximately about 50 lines long, or on average. eGPG commands. The set of commands and options of eGPG is well structured and intuitive. There are commands for working with files, for signing and encryption, managing the key, managing contacts, and other extra commands. The commands for working with files are these: eGPG seal, and then a file, and then a list of recipients. eGPG open, and then the file which is sealed, which is the reverse option of sealing. eGPG sign to get the signature for a file, and then eGPG verify to verify the signature of a file. eGPG key commands. There are commands to generate a new key or fetch an existing one, to backup and restore the key, to split and join the key, to generate a revocation certificate, to revoke the key, to delete the key, etc. eGPG contact commands. The commands about contacts include commands to search and receive contacts from the key server network, to export and import from files, to fetch from existing GPG, eGPG directories, to certify and trust, etc. Managing the keys. To keep things simple, eGPG supports only one private key per directory or for environment. But there are ways to use several keys if needed. For example, it can be done by using several eGPG directories or configurations which can work in parallel and independently of each other. This is a design decision and is on purpose. Not only for simplicity, but also because when you need more than one key, you usually use them in different contexts. So it makes more sense to keep and manage them separately and independently of each other, which could also help to avoid any confusion or mistakes when using them. eGPG extends the features of GPG. eGPG combines the features of GPG with external tools or commands in order to achieve better results or to be more user-friendly. For example, when making the backup of the key, the output is produced as a PDF file with a 2D barcode, which can be printed on a paper and stored away on a safe place. Later, this can be easily scanned back to digital format and restored. This is achieved by exporting the key from GPG in ASCII armor format, then using a bunch of Linux commands and tools like QR encode and convert to convert it to the proper PDF format. There is nothing that cannot be done manually or with a shell script, but eGPG already automates things for you in a single command, so that you can immediately take advantage of best practices and recommendations. Another example is printing the fingerprint of the key as a 2D barcode and picking it up from the camera. This can simplify the exchange of keys in mobile phones if people have physical contact. For example, in a meeting, one of them can show the code on the screen, and the other one can scan it from the camera and automatically fetch the details from a key server. Or the fingerprint can be printed as a 2D barcode on a business card and scanned from there. Yet another example is moving the main key that is used for signing and certification to a dongle, USB flash drive, for portability and security. For example, the USB flash drive can be encrypted. This is done with the external command eGPG key to dongle. So it can also be done by giving several Unix commands, but with a single command it's much more easier. Splitting the key. You can split the key into 3 partial keys so that any 2 of them can be combined to recreate the original key, but a single one is not enough. So a single partial key is not enough. eGPG takes advantage of this to save a partial key on the local machine and another partial on a dongle, USB flash drive, or removable device. The third partial key is used as a backup to recover the full key in case that the dongle or the computer is lost, and it can be stored, for example, on a cloud account. Splitting the key into partial keys makes key management safer and more robust. In case that you lose the dongle, the key is not deconspired because a single partial key is not enough to reconstruct the full key. The same goes on for backup partial key. You can store it on cloud, for example, and if somebody manages to get it, they still cannot get your key. Similarly, if you lose the dongle or change the PC, you still can recover the key using the remaining partial key and the backup partial. And this can be done with these commands: eGPG key split, eGPG key join, and eGPG key recover. eGPG can work on any platform. The file platform.shell contains a couple of functions that can be platform dependent. The platform is detected automatically, and these functions are overridden with the right implementation for the current platform. So eGPG is flexible enough to potentially work on any platform. However, currently it has been tested only on Ubuntu and Debian. eGPG is customizable and extensible. If eGPG doesn't fit your workflow, you can adapt and extend it to fit your way of doing things. You can also share your extensions with others in the form of external commands. The file customize.shell can be used to redefine and customize some functions without having to touch the code of the main script. An external command named example can be overridden or defined by adding the file cmd_example.shell on directory eGPG dir. And for an external command, the script will look in several places, and the first one that it finds will pick up. eGPG enables scripting. I think that it is time to stop writing detailed tutorials with best practices on how to use GPG on certain situations. Write instead scripts in eGPG or some other framework that automate these processes. GPG itself does not facilitate writing such scripts, and eGPG tries to improve this. eGPG criticism. The eGPG critics have expressed their concerns that since eGPG is just a wrapper script to GPG, it is too fragile. This is so because the GPG command line was meant to be an interactive tool, not a streamlined tool that can be easily combined with other tools. As such, its output format can change at any time, and even small changes can break GPG. A possible defense argument, so the improvements that can be done are proposed as a Google Summer of Code project, which you can find on this web page, and some of the improvements are these. Thank you for your attention. If you have any comments, you can contact me on this email address.